The Dimp Digital Network presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from the Dimp Digital Network, and welcome to Idle Game Chat and another edition of Games on the Grill. This is where we give our impression of video games that you can play today. This time, I'm joined by the current Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz Champion. It's Tom Adkins, not Adcock. How's it going?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
I felt better, if I'm honest. I haven't been well lately. I've had a real torrid few days. Still not 100%, so sort of doing this for the fans, really.
Yep.
And for you, to give you your platform, because I know that we don't usually fall into the abyss.
No.
I need to get you on that internet fame so I can reap the money from it. But yeah, have felt better, but we will grind through it. If you do notice I'm a bit off my game, just give me a bit of slack. I mean, I know we're normally setting such a ridiculously high standard in terms of professionalism, content, and fact checking, which is something that we're very anal about here. But if we're off our game, then let us off the. Well, let me off the. Not Adkins. He's got no excuse. Just absolutely no excuse. Exactly. So I expect at least 150% to make up for my 50% that's been lost.
Yeah.
But you've got two games for us, Mr. Adkins.
Double whammy.
Double whammy edition. You got Days Gone, which is coming up a little bit later on, which you finished. So that'll be good. And we've had a few chats on our historic Dimp Entertainment YouTube channel and our other old podcast feeds. So it'd be interesting to get a new perspective on that. And then, well, not then, we're going to kick things off with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Doesn't say part 1 on it.
No.
Which it is. It is. Imagine if you were like a parent. Well, you are a parent, but imagine if you had to buy, like you was going to, I'm going to buy Johnny Final Fantasy. I've heard it's a really good game. And you would have no idea that it's actually only the first part of an unknown number of parts.
2 seconds. I'm just going to go and grab the box.
Go on. Right, yeah. It'd be interesting to see what they've put on the box. So maybe this is a bad example. Maybe the box on there does in fact have a clear warning that little Johnny won't be getting 100% of the story. But
here we go. Right.
Here we go.
I've got the box. So, the legend returns for all generations. The world is under control from Shinra, a corporation controlling the planet's life force as the Mako Energy. In the city of Midgar, Cloudstrife, former member of Shinra's elite soldier unit, now turned mercenary, leads his aid to the Avalanche Resistance Group, unaware of the epic consequences that await him. The story is this first standalone game in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, covers up to the party's escape from Midgar and goes...
Oh, spoilers on the back of the cover. Bloody hell, imagine if you didn't know that.
Deeper into the events occurring in the city in the original Final Fantasy VII. Cool, that's on the back of the case.
I mean... most people would have known that or assumed that, but if you've gone into this thinking, or you don't really know what Final Fantasy is, like a new game, which people seem to forget that people aren't 30 odd years old. There are some like 12-year-olds who weren't even born when the original came out. Christ,
there you go on the back of the box.
I'd call that a soft warning. On the part size, because that to me, reading that and not knowing, I wouldn't be able to make head or tails what that means. But
the story is first. The story of this first standalone game in the Final Fantasy Remake project.
It'd be interesting to see what they call the next stage of the project.
Yeah,
like will they call it Part 2, or they just call it like Final Fantasy, then named after the area? Like I thought this was going to be called Final Fantasy VII Remake Midgard, like as a subtitle, because then everyone's like, right, it's that section of the game itself. But it'd be interesting to see what they do with it. But
so that's your only warning. 2 discs, over 100 gigabytes. It's weird because it's not. on Red Dead 2, did you have to swap the discs halfway through playing, or was it install one and then just use the second disc?
From memory, and again, we've mentioned about the illness going on, so don't be trusting it. But from memory, there was an install disc. I may have even had to install it with 2 discs, but then there was only one to play it. So I believe that was the case. Probably the same with that, you'd think.
Yeah, well, this one is, you got an insert data disc first, and then you got the play disc. So just once you've installed it, you've just got this gear that's sat here doing nothing.
Yeah.
Flog it. Comes with a dual cover as well.
Have you turned? Cause I know you love all stuff like that. Have you put the alternative cover on, or have you just stuck?
No, I haven't actually. It's shit compared. Just got it's the white cover's the main one, and then the alternate cover is just a black cover with the logo. That's it. It's the tiny little logo. It's nothing. I thought it was going to be a paper edition of the fucking steelbook, but it really isn't.
I was tempted by that steelbook at one point.
Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely bloody gorgeous. It must cost an arm and a leg, because the fucking game's still 50 quid everywhere I look.
Yeah, I think it was either $69.99 or $79.99 UK pounds. So a bit of a premium on that, but I didn't commit in the end, which is probably a good thing to do, considering I've got Greedfall that needs working through, and there will be some impressions of that appearing at some point in the future.
Yep.
And Biff keeps getting on at me about playing Resident Evil 7 and Adcock, to be fair. They're both like, come on, play it. And I'm like, yeah. you need to get rid of this Greedfall first.
Yeah.
So this is the opening part of this Final Fantasy VII Remake project. We'll call it a project from now on, because I guess that's what we'll put it on the fucking box. How much of this have you played, roughly?
So
is there an in-game counter, actually? Let's get this out of the way with.
Yes.
Wow,
so
it's an immediate 8 out of 10 for most people.
Yeah, that's it. That has gone up in my scoring straight away. But yes, there is an in-game on there. I think I'm at about 8 to 9 hours, between 8 and 9, I think.
Nice.
I'm chucked in. I'm making a point of doing all available side quests. Just
excellent.
Up my game, getting as much as I can out of the game. But it is a lengthy one, even though it is only part 1. So. Yeah. I'm sort of a lot of people would say that they start off doing all the side quests, and then by the end you're like, oh, fucking come on, let's get through the story.
Yeah.
But,
nice stuff. Did you play the original?
I did, yes. I played it as a kid. I don't think I ever completed it though.
Cool.
As a kid.
Well, didn't have that fucking tragic story that Biff had, did you, about how it was on 3 discs, and he obviously back then you'd have to change the disc over when you got to a certain point, and then he went to put disc 3 in and it was unreadable, the disc was broke and he never got to finish it, and he goes nah, and cries about it to this day. Was that the reason why, or did you just sort of flake off like I'd often do?
Yeah, because it was such a long game as a kid, and I don't know, I think after a certain time I sort of never went back to it. Vaguely remember. I don't really remember completing games as a kid. I think Metal Gear might have been like one of the first ever ones.
I was just talking about Streets of Rage, and I played 1 and 2 a lot. I used to complete those if I could. Sometimes I'd fail, but it's because they were short.
Yeah.
And when these longer games started coming out on PlayStation, I was like, I barely used to finish things. I think, like you said, Metal Gear Solid was definitely one that I finished.
First one, yeah.
But there's a lot of games left on. If I looked at that unfinished backlog and kept it back then, I'll be going, get me in lockdown for another 6 years and I'll get it done. That's how long this bastard is.
I think I must have owned every single Sonic and never completed one.
They're actually quite hard.
They are fucking hard, aren't they? Permadeath.
I played one on the plane when I went out to the Caribbean, and fuck, I nearly lost my shit on the plane. I'm going to get kicked off in a minute. He's a right slug to control.
Who's that? Oh, what, Sonic?
Sonic, you go back and play with him. Fucking hell,
tank
Mario.
Controls.
Mario, much better. Anyway, we digress. So you did play it, but probably didn't finish it.
Yes. And then also before, I think it must have been about a year ago now, I booted up the Steam version and played through what this game owns. So I got to the end of the Midgard section.
How long did that take, roughly?
I think that was roughly about 5-6 hours.
Christ!
Yeah. So they've managed to... I think people say this is about a 40-45 hour game.
Yeah.
And they've managed to squeeze 6 hours of that.
Crikey.
into a nice 45-hour experience. But I played a couple of hours after that. But yeah, it's one I want to pick it up and have a little comparison. Well, I want to do it before the next one comes out, but we probably won't see that for another 3 years now.
No, well, you'd hope that they've got all the assets there and the gameplay. It's just a case of environments and you think if they did set up this as a Final Fantasy project, they would have been doing some work in the background, but who knows?
They still ain't even confirmed if it's going to be a trilogy or...
No, I don't even know how many parts it is.
Going.
So would you play through... Say if they said it's going to then... The next part of this project is going to go from Midgard to X point in the story.
Yeah.
Would your plan to be play up to that point on PC and then stop again? And
Probably
do it that
would.
way?
Unless I get the bug and can really go through it. But I sort of... Once I'd done that, I sort of thought, well... There's no rush to think. I don't know, because it's such an old game now as well. It's sort of those quality of life aspects, so it becomes hard to play. People still say it holds up today. Story wise, it probably does, but it's all bullshit. But, no, it is a very good game. But yeah, I do believe it's one that I've never finished. So.
Yeah.
That does hinder me. That does sit there and think, right, well, I can't have that on the backlog. But
I've never finished it, and I never. The closest I'll get is doing these remakes, which I do want to play. I've got no interest in going back and playing the original, if I'm honest.
Oh, I think after playing these 10 hours, it's a bit like when I played that Shadow of Colossus remake. I remember playing the original.
Oh yeah,
playing that, and I thought I didn't need to do that. No. I've got a lot of better experience here.
Yeah.
So. I think that would be mine. If you've never played the original, definitely go with that. The one thing that this new game does, though, is it really pulls on the nostalgia towel.
Right.
So I suppose you would be missing out with that, but I'm sure you'll get the gist of it, the bits that they're pulling at.
Dirty bastards, pulling at all sorts.
Yeah.
Can they be trusted? Not recently, but you did play through Final Fantasy 15.
Yes, yeah.
To completion.
That's it. 10. I think I completed 10. Played a bit of 9. 13 I played quite a lot of, but never finished either. Got that on the 360. I think I got quite near to the end. I've still got my save on there. I remember when 15 came back, I'll jump back on that. That was a turn-based bastard, so... I'm not a huge fan of the turn-based, so that was a sort of struggle for me. But yeah, so a bit of 9, 10 to completion, 13, and then played 15 through to completion as well.
Lovely jubbling. How did you like 15 or dislike 15, and then how does Remake 7 compare to 15? Because I could be wrong, probably am. Again, we've talked about the illness, I won't go on about it. But the first time they've kind of gone for a real-time combat system potentially in 15.
Yeah.
And they've carried over, maybe not the same combat, but again, it's kind of a real-time approach in 7. So it'd be interesting to hear the differences between 15 and 7 in terms of gameplay, and then also structure. I kind of chucked a lot on your plate there, but you're skilled enough to negotiate and field all that, and if you forget something, I'll be on you.
Well, we'll battle through what you just said, but 15, the combat in there is almost like a bit of a free flow combat. Apparently they ripped it out of their Kingdom Hearts franchise.
Right, yeah.
So it was that you just rock up against it. It wasn't turn-based, it was no turn-based at all. You could stop fight, like you could pause the fight in the middle of
like a tactical pause.
Yeah, like a tactical pause, and sort of have a look around and then cast a spell or something. But it certainly was not turn-based, which was a big plus for me. I much prefer any type of combat, whether it be free flow or hack and slash or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I say, it was ripped out of Kingdom Hearts, and yeah, I got on pretty well with it. It was sort of one you go up to enemies and you just sort of held an attack button, and that was it. There was no sort of skill to it as such. You could dodge. I think there was a bit of a parry system, but it was very much sort of rock up, press a button, and it will do it for you.
That sounds like my sort of game.
Yeah.
Anywhere I can put feet up. Like, I love games where they let you have like pets or summon things. I can just summon things and
That's it. Yeah.
have a little drink whilst they're doing it.
Like this, and you couldn't change the character when I completed. They later patched in that you could play of any of the 4 characters, and you had
Interesting.
a character that had guns and stuff, so you could just sit back and just blast them with your guns. So that was handy. But yeah, that was a later thing after I'd finished it. But I did enjoy the combat in that game. And like I say, I much prefer that sort of system to the turn-based. 15's combat. 15 combat. Sorry, when I thought, that's brilliant. I've not got this turn-based. Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat pisses all over 15. It is incredible.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's a mix. It's a mix of 15 and like a sort of God of War hack and slash.
Don't be saying that God of War stuff again. We've had this with Sekiro and the axe versus the little toothpick blades. We can't be having Kratos being brought down to these sort of levels unless we really mean it.
No, so there is skill based on this as well. Like it's a bit more. You're not rocking up to a bunch of enemies and holding a button down. Yeah. It is, striking your sword with every button you touch. But what you do is that you have this thing called an ATB. Can't for the fuck remember what it stands for, but it's a meter that builds up. Every time, so the more you hit enemies, this meter fills up, and then once that's filled up, then it allows you just on the click of a button to then pause the fight, and you can either send off one of your special attacks, or a spell, or a cure if you're into the healing. And it's just this mix of sort of like tactical hack and slash almost, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got dodges and you can counter on it and stuff. It's a lot more. It's not as as hack and slash as something like Sekiro or God of War, but it has that. It's certainly compared to the Final Fantasy 15 combat.
Yeah.
But it's just it's liquid. It is liquid. It works so well. It's so easy to learn. It's not something that people would struggle with. It could be mastered. I'm sure there's things that I'm not even aware of yet for the big pros. But and then it all comes down to this materia system that the game has.
Fuck's that! It sounds like a bit of clothing.
Yeah, it does. It's these little gems that you put into your weapons and armor and stuff.
Can you change weapons or just change the...
You can, yes. Yeah.
Right, okay.
But it's really annoyed me because, like, that sword he's got is quite iconic. That they call it the bust big fuck on his back. Within about... It's not a spoiler, but within about an hour of the game...
Cover your ears, ladies and gentlemen. Every time they say that, they drop the absolute howler, so...
You change your weapons, you find new weapons up, but within about an hour of the game, you find a new sword and it's better than the original one. So I'm like, fucking hell, now I've got to use this one. It's better than that one.
So you can't upgrade the icon, right? Will it stay leveled with you though? Like, can you do it enough so that you can always keep the iconic sword, or will it eventually fall behind?
No, it won't fall behind, but like certain weapons will have more slots and stuff, and that's why this other one is a real coster. But what I quite liked is that I'll be using this new sword, thinking, my Buster's losing out. But when you upgrade, you build up these points to level up your weapons. Whilst that one's upgrading, it's also upgrading, like giving you points for your original sword in the background, so you don't lose out by not using it. Right. But say they do come with added perks, like they have like different slots and stuff, and each weapon's got its own skill tree as well.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's pretty good, and you don't just upgrade your own; you then have your party. I don't know if you get more than, I think you do because you did in the original game, but so far I've only had one extra party member.
Yeah.
So just upgrading their weapons and stuff as well. There is a button to if you don't want to get involved in any of that. I think there is like an auto update, so it just does it for you. It'll pick your own skills and stuff.
All right.
So for the people that don't really want to get into the deep depths of all this materia system and that,
you can just
feet up and just go, deal with that for me. I'm into me hack and slash.
One question I do have, and this is a very this is a critical question when it comes to when you get new gear and swords, and sometimes you get new armor in games, and it changes the way you look.
Yeah.
Do these new swords, these new weapons, whatever you change from the default characters, are these changes reflected in the cutscenes?
They are, but
Thank God. Hang
only
on.
in terms of the weapon. I don't think like armor or anything. You don't change anything of that. What I do like though as well is the little materia, like I said, the little gems that are in the sword. They are different. Whatever ones you put comes with different colours, and whatever one you've got in your sword, will be reflected in the cutscenes.
Nice. That's quite a good level of detail there then.
Yeah. To be fair, you don't really. It's not armor that you change. I don't think. It's
I mean it might not be, but
pendants and stuff. Pendants.
The reason I asked is because I remember I played Shadow of War, and a lot of that was a gear-based game. Huge amount of gear, either it was weapons or armour. And the armour was a big thing. Like, you'd almost pick up a new bit of armour every few fights or whatnot.
Yeah.
And you were always in the cutscenes with your default starting armour. And it used to really chat my arse, that did.
Yeah.
But
Good
to see that Final Fantasy or Square Enix at least, are putting their fingers out. Tell me more about this materia system then. How do you get these gems? Is it just through experience, or do you find them, or are they rewarded for killing bosses? How do we get our hands on these beautiful little gems?
It's an absolute mix of everything you just said.
Oh.
So basically,
I'm not off my game then.
No. So any sort of side quest you do, that tends to end in materia as a sort of reward. If you get do you get just a piece of materia, which is one gem, or do you get like some experience towards the next level of materia? No, do you remember like on God of War where you had like runes? Was it runes you could put into your weapons?
Yeah,
it's basically the same as that. Yeah. So it's just these little collectible things that will be like you'll have one that
little buffs.
Buffs. It would be one that gives you fire, one that gives you curing, one that gives you an uppercut, one that gives you blah blah blah. So it's these little runes that you come across from. You can explore and find them. There's like rare ones that you can find. You'll get given them in quests.
Yeah,
part of the story. You'll come across them, and like I say, each weapon and these pendants and bangles or whatever you can get, they all have different amount of slots. So you're sort of trying to make your own build essentially. What's the best, and you need to sort of. This is where the auto mode would come in well if you're not into these sort of type of games.
Yeah.
You don't really want to have a mix of everything in one. You really want to have like a character that's sort of a healer, so you can rely on her.
Right, I see.
And then if you want to just go for pure tank on aggression, just use that like all your sort of spells and fire and that for things like that. But they're just simple things. You'll come across loads that you'll have multiple versions of each of them, so you end up selling a few and stuff. But it's a big part of the game, and it's good that they've carried it over and kept everything exactly how it is. But it is a bit of a head scratch at first. I remember I was sort of thinking like everyone talks about this materia and that, and it is a bit of a head fuck. But I do like it. But at the same time, I hate these games where I feel like people say like, oh, you got to make the best build. I always think, well, missing out on something then, because mine obviously is something I've made up. It ain't the right build, is it? You
feel like you're constantly chasing your tail, thinking, what do I need? But that is an added headache for people. But you said the auto mode is there, so
auto mode is there, so that would probably give you a boost.
Yeah. Sorry, you may have said this, and this again might be we've spoken about the illness. We won't drone on about it, but. Can obviously Cloud? You can put materials on his.
Yes.
Can you do it with like Garrett or any of the other party members?
Can,
So can you create like, say for example, you say Garrett, I want you to be a tank build. Cloud, you can be a healer. Whoever else you might have, they can be like a blade. I don't know, whatever. Can they all have separate sort of builds? Yeah, you can have all separate. You can change each weapon. The weapons aren't as frequent as the materia. I've only sort of come across one extra weapon so far in my. Garrett's got a big gun. I wonder if
he's got fucking 30 what's it called? Like a minigun attached to his arm.
Is that changeable?
I don't actually know how he's got that. I don't know if that's part in this story. I will find out. Or if
there should be a side story of that.
Just work out. Go right. Why has he got a big fuck off arm like that? But yeah, he's a brilliant character. Barrett. I really like him. He's probably the most racial, stereotypical voice acting I've ever heard in my life.
Worse than Coltrane.
Yeah, what is Coltrane on cocaine? I'd say is what I'd say.
He's on the blow.
He's on the blow. It's really good, but yeah, sometimes you're like, cool. This is it reminds me. I don't know if you've seen the film of Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr. when he's.
I've only seen clips of it, but I know exactly what you mean.
Where he's like
based on that,
like a black character, and he's just put on it. That's what Coltrane.
Bloody hell, who's the racist now?
That is what Barrett sounds like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it is good that you can sort of switch them up, and so far I haven't been able to choose my characters, which is handy. It's sort of it's stuck me with the one story related. I'm not sure if it's going to open up later, and then I'll get to decide who I want to go off every way. But I'm just like I say, I'm just stuck with one at the minute. I know that doesn't whether it's going to be in this game or the next, where you endless ones. But yeah, it's nice because you. It's good when you, like I say, you get a lot of material in off of just missions, and I'm trying to sort of look for every nook and cranny. Yeah. And rather than just flog it all, it does seem to be quite resourceful to keep a lot of it, and then you'll find yourself upgrading, say Barrett, and then he'll have like an extra material slot, and I think right, I can stick in with another fire or another, and then that is something I can use.
Lovely jubbly.
So yeah, it is really good the sort of customization you can do. Like it's not cosmetic in any such, but it is expansive in the RPG elements.
Excellent. So Final Fantasy 15, I got the impression that it was like a big open world almost.
Yeah,
could be wrong. Could be complete bollocks. Or at least areas was open world zones, and there could be random enemies just spawning. There's all sorts of weird shit that you can stumble across.
Yeah.
The 7 follow that same trend, or it was a little bit more focused in terms of its allowance for you to be exploring around and bumping into random stuff.
Yeah, no, this one doesn't follow the same. So this isn't an open world game. The areas are quite big. So you can go off the beaten path and explore a little bit, but you are limited. And it is very linear so far in these 8 hours that I've played so far. It is very sort of go from point A to point B.
Right.
Can
you go back? Like if you miss a side quest, or
I did do that. I did go back. There was one. I was like in an underground train station, and I was kept just going back because I wanted to see how far I could go back.
Yeah.
And I think I was ended up walking for about 10 minutes, and then it took me another 10 minutes to get back to where I was walking to. I thought, hang on a minute, is this? I was sort of walking thinking there's going to be like some sort of like chest at the end of here or something I'm going to find, and I just kept walking, and then when I looked on the map I was like, fucking hell, I've got the train to here, I've just walked it back. I was like, fucking hell. But so yeah, it's a bit, I suppose in a sense a bit like the sort of Sekiro layout where you sort of it's all connected. I don't think you would be able to walk back to like the original part of the game.
No.
But certainly, it seems to be these sort of connected linear sort of zones, and then you'll have like a hub area where you can branch off, and it goes off to different little paths. But it's certainly not an open world game, it's a much linear experience compared to 15.
Interesting. So Dave Yellowboots bought you this as a little gift, little lockdown gift. The generosity of Yellowboots shining through. Bless his heart. But there's people saying, hang on, Adkins, you've had this for several weeks now and you only put 8 hours in. What's going on? Are you ungrateful, and should Yellowboots take it back and give it to apps? I think that's what
the majority is saying. I do think he texted me the other day actually and said, how's it going with it? And I was like,
but you know how bloody well it's going, mate. Come on.
Yeah. So I did get detracted. It's a big. It's my own brain. It's
that Rodney coming back.
It's Rodney's coming back. When Rodney goes through a large experience, it needs a winding down period after.
Yeah.
So, and it also is prone to new shiny things. If it sees something shiny and new, it goes off.
Yes.
So, what was I playing before this? I think, I played through Doom, I think, didn't I? So I played through Doom and then Animal Crossing. Sekiro and Animal Crossing, they're the ones that I've done before. So that was a bit of an undertaking. So I was like, cool, right. I see. I need a little breathe. I want a little game where I can sort of pick it up now and again and have a little play. Anyway, I got this through the door, unbelievably. Couldn't believe it. Give it to me for nothing. And, then I played it for, like I say, I played it for a few nights in a row, and I stuck there an 8 hours. And it's not anything against the game. It's not, I haven't got bored with it or anything. It's just basically, I started watching Sons of Anarchy.
Well, it's a fantastic TV series if you've not seen it. So
it is.
And
I
can see that.
That was for and I ended up binging that for a full week. It's literally every during the day I'd only get about 2 episodes in because being a dad, that is a cunt. But second they went to bed, I think they go to bed about 7 now. So from 7 o'clock till sometimes 1 or 2 in the morning, I was watching Sons of Anarchy for a full week, and I haven't even turned it on. Luckily I finished that. Was it yesterday? I finished that. Maybe yesterday or the day before. Into it. So I am due to. I do want to pick this back up, but now the Streets of Rage has tickled a little bit. I think it's because, like I say, my brain goes, right. You've just done a big project, so like Sons of Anarchy now, I sort of have to unwind from that.
Yeah.
And I still it's weird because you're spending so long a time with these characters in this world, you sort of start to miss them. So if I go back to like Final Fantasy, my full heart won't be in it because I'm sitting there thinking of Jax. I'm sitting there and Chibs. I want to know what they're doing. So it's difficult. It's my brain. I need this.
Better get on that spin-off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did start that actually. Funny enough.
Any good?
It's all right. It's not the Tellers. I'll tell you that.
No. Well,
but I'm going to see it through. It's only 2 seasons, but there's only 1 available at the minute, so I'll give it a go. But yeah, so I feel like I need my full heart in it. So I think like Saints Row, Streets of Rage will just let me nitpick that little gaming phase back in, and then I can, as they're such short games, then I can edge myself back into fun, and then once I'm fully focused on it, and I can go right. Then what I tend to do is I do this a lot with games. I'll sort of buy a new game, especially something like this big. I'll play it for the first couple of nights, maybe even a couple of weeks or something, and I do tend to let it go, and then come back to it, and then give it a real good stuffing, and then tend to finish it off. I'll sort of go in all guns blazing. Yeah. Which is something I did with another game, but we'll discuss that later. Ooh. But yeah, so it's not that I've got bored of it or anything. It's just that something else has taken my attention. And in this current zone, well, probably in life in general, I do have a short attention span. So it's like I say, it's certainly not a gripping a sort of point off of the game or anything. But
no,
I haven't sat there and thought, I must get back to that. But it is an incredible game, and I will go back to it very shortly. And I'm sure I'll get sucked back into the world. But I haven't played it for a good week now.
It's interesting you mentioned the Streets of Rage sort of being like a little breaking you back into the gaming, because it's almost a bit of like a relaxation of the lockdown rules. They're not just going to let everyone out running around, which is sort of like Final Fantasy. It'll be a staged thing. It sounds like you're going for a staged approach to your gaming.
Yeah.
Because one thing we have spoken about previously, and actually before we came on, was that you don't want to just be sitting on Final Fantasy VII Remake for 20 minutes and then to get off and do something else, or like it's a game where you want to be able to spend a good session in and sit there and just absorb everything that's going on, because you can lose your way otherwise. That's
it. I think what I've played is only about 3 nights. I think I've only actually played 3 nights worth. So
3 big uns.
It's like locking 3. I think the first night I played it, I think I stuck about 4 hours in.
Cool, yeah, that'll do it.
So and then I've done a couple of twos. But it's an incredible. It's unbelievable. The look. I think it might be the best. It's certainly every game I seem to play. I seem to say it's the best looking game, but it is a very impressive presentation game. The only thing that annoys me playing this is when I'm playing it, I'm like, they could do this with fucking Metal Gear. Like,
Don't. Why are you starting that again? Why are you even? Why are you setting off Ronnie with little faults like that?
Exactly.
It's not fair, is it?
Same fucking. It came out the same year, I think. It was Metal Gear Solid.
I think when was Metal Gear? I can't remember now. This was 97-ish, was it? I can't remember.
91. Hold on. Get that brain working. We'll get fucking Wikipedia working.
We'll get the old boy working.
Metal Gear Solid came out 98. And this is 96, wasn't it? Final Fantasy VII.
96, 90. The trouble is, half the release dates you get are the Japanese ones. And it took fucking 6.
Placed, what was it? Oh, we'll note that down. 97 it came out.
Right.
Final Fantasy VII.
A year prior.
Yeah. Cool, it's fucking full 10 months. Came out in Japan in January and November in Europe. Fuck my boot.
What about US? Same time,
September. It's weird. And 9 months for the Americans, and then a further 2 months for the fucking Brits.
Can you imagine that nowadays?
I'll be livid.
You wouldn't be allowed to.
Not that. So you certainly get a lot of Japanese games like
like Persona and whatnot.
Persona, yeah, but certainly not that. Yeah, imagine a game coming out 2 months before. Yeah, that would be an uproar, wouldn't it?
It would be unbelievable. Alan would be getting a right fucking shitload of emails in his inbox, and he'd be going, "What's going on here?"
Oh no, that was
well, Alan, we sent it out to America before we did Europe. He went, "Oh, for goodness' sake!"
Different editions, was it? I thought one of the Gears of Wars had like an American release.
It might well have done. I mean, it was a reasonably acceptable thing, and I think in the 360 PS3 era, it kind of tailed off a bit, and a lot of games were dual release, but certainly before that it was quite common to see different release dates in different regions, even between, like, we speak English and I don't speak any other languages. I don't know about you, I'd imagine not, but even though we fluent in Japanese, all those imports, but even if it is all localized to English, there was still sometimes a lag on the bloody games coming over, and that was acceptable. But with Twitter and the internet culture, you ain't be getting away with that nowadays, I don't think.
No.
Imagine that. The Last of Us is coming out in June for America, and it'll be coming in September for the Europeans.
Oh, we thought this leak was bad for spoilers. Wait until them Yanks get it first.
Yeah, exactly. It was like that Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Sort of people fucking leaking that everywhere. Well, not leaking it, they were just talking about it.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, especially with memes these days. Like, it's now acceptable to post spoiler memes, and now I'm back to an island. You're like, fuck you now.
It's not ideal.
No.
But it is what it is.
But yeah, so what was we talking about? Like, but yeah, presentation wise on this game, like
smooth as silk running.
Smooth as silk. Well, it runs. I think I'm not sure if it's 30 or 60.
A clean 12 frames per second.
A clean 12. I'm guessing it's probably a 30 because it's got that.
Can you fiddle with it on the Pro, like put a performance mode?
No, I did wonder if they had that. No, it's quite good because I do like that. I always, again, feel like I'm not doing the right one. I think we had that with
Monster
the Tomb Raider. It was about 6 options, wasn't there?
Oh god, yeah, there was.
You could have like higher resolution, better textures or something. I was like, fucking hell, now I'm going to feel like I'm going to have to complete the game in each different mode.
You've got to complete all those Streets of Rage vintage games in all 3 of the ROMs, so Japanese, North American and Europe.
Yeah.
So tell Rodney that.
Fucking hell. So, so I do like that there's one set thing, but it does look crisp, and it's the cutscenes are, oh my god, they're incredible. You know, like, I think they do like the animated CGI films. They do.
Yeah.
The cutscenes are like that equivalent. It's the money that Square Enix must pump into these games just to get that level of quality. And the only annoying thing is it's sort of jarring when you go into gameplay. You can sort of go, cool, why don't it look as good as that? But this does hold up very well. Like, it's one of the best looking games on things. Just the environments and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so much more expanded. It's incredible. The voice acting is really good. Like I say, old Barrett with his Robert Downey Jr. voice. I think people will turn their heads at that, but no. So far, the story's investing. It's incredible. It's interesting to see because they've not only like I say, I think I played about 6 hours, 6 and a bit for that Midgar section on the PC, and this is supposed to be around a 45-hour game. And I can already tell how much they're already increasing little sections of the game that are still the parts are like in the original game. You go from you're in a, I can't remember how it starts off. Now you go on a train. You go from a train station. Just in that sort of, that would take about 2 minutes or 5 minutes in the original game, and it's about like a 2 hours worth of gameplay because they're extending the sort of the connection between the characters. They're sort of building backstories. There's characters in the original game that were just there. They were just characters. No, you didn't know anything about them. Now on this one, I'm doing side quests for them, learning about who they are, going to their families' houses and finding out what sort of background and stuff. It's incredible, but not only are they sort of expanding what's already there, they're also adding into it as well. So there's sections where it's completely character that's just been included in this game, and it just works. It fits. It doesn't feel like they've just tacked it on. Right, for the benefit of just padding the game out. It felt like it's always been there. Yes, it's incredible. It's the perfect remake so far.
Cool, lovely job. I was going to ask because I've got a feeling that the old Bloatville might come up later with our later game, Bloatville USA.
Bloatville. I just hope there isn't any sort of level gating. Because I know in the original game, certainly not in the Midgar section, but later on, it does require some grinding, which I suppose people do like that in their games. But I'm not a huge fan of the grinding section that you're doing, especially like with level gating. That's why
that Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh God, that was a good game, but that fucked me off. That something wrong when you just want to blitz through and get. Once you've done 60, 70 hours, you go, right, get me to this end. And this guy, no, you're under. You ain't going to touch this fucking bastard. He's got a red skull on his head.
Done my fucking head in, that did. It really done my head in.
No, so I haven't come across that. There are levels in this system, so it is level-based. But like I say, I've been sort of trying to do every side quest I can, explore everything. You can do sort of grinding. I noticed that I went back. I sort of backtracked on myself, and all the enemies sort of respawned. I was like,
right.
So you could sit there and just keep going backwards and forwards to one section, and then
a little bit of farming.
That's a little bit of farming. Do that for a couple of hours, and then make your merry way in, and you should be all right. But yeah, I just do hope that there's not that sort of grind.
Yeah, I mean the one I don't mind big games, I don't mind long games, but if I want to be getting through that main campaign, just let me do it without too much hassle. Yeah. Like, that's all I ask, is that I could run through the main campaign, get to the minimum required level, and still have a shot at getting through it. Yeah. And I felt like The Witcher done a really good job of that. Yeah. Like, I never felt... I think there might have been one... Like, early on, there may have been, like, 1 or 2 quests that I was technically underleveled for, but the thing that really... The crux of it is the side content of The Witcher 3 was good, so I wanted to play it. Yeah. And it sounds like you've been playing all the side quests for this, for Remake 7. It sounds like it might be... I'm not saying it's on the same level as The Witcher, but at least interesting enough that you actually want to do it, whereas Odyssey... How many more fucking fortresses have I got to clear out? No, it's quite good, and because I'm so early on, it's almost part of the tutorial. Sort of the side quests I'm doing are teaching me how to play the game more. So they're definitely not they're definitely optional. So you could just bin them off, but it's sort of teaching me how to improve my skills and stuff. And like I said, they're interesting. They're not the characters aren't as deep as the main cast and stuff, but you sort of start to learn characters from doing side quests. It's just randoms coming up, and they seem to be quite varied at the minute as well. It's not just the same sort of fetch quest or go and kill this mob. There's a little bit of things, a little bit of story in there as well. So it's quite interesting. So I'll see how long it keeps up. Yeah.
But no, it is expansive.
Excellent. So you're enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
And I imagine at some point you'll get on the bandwagon and look to finish Final Fantasy VII, and we'll have you back on to get
the
final
full
views of it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's been covered here, but it'd be interesting to see if any of those opinions change once you get to the back end or finish the game. We've got Days Gone coming up. I want you to take a really short intermission just to have a little chat about some of the industry news which happened last week, actually, maybe the week before last, but The Last of Us Part 2 release date, June 19th, 2020 now, so it got moved back, 3 weeks?
3 weeks, yeah.
So listen to this, it was May 29th or something like that, I can't remember now.
For the original.
They go, right, we ain't hitting that because of whatever areas, logistics or whatever. We're going to cancel all digital pre-orders.
Yep.
At that point, I thought, right, that's going to be pushed back at least 3 months.
I wasn't expecting it this year, to be honest.
No. Then we get Leakgate come out for The Last of Us Part 2. Apparently, the full story's out there if you want to get it, or unluckily, if someone throws it in your face before you play the game.
Is the rumour I've heard.
What was it? Pornhub, did you say?
So I saw a tweet, someone tweeted saying my mate's just had Last of Us Part 2 leaked in the comments section on Pornhub. Beware.
I mean, who's reading the comments of Pornhub?
Well, I do sometimes. Just if it's a good video, I think, who's that? And 9 times out of 10, you will get a friendly chap in the comment section that will say on there, it will just clearly say name underneath, and then you're welcome. Every time.
Oh, right. So you can find her again, or him. Could be a bloke that you're after.
Yeah, that's it.
Who knows? No judgment here. But we get the leaks come out, and then it felt like a matter of days later, it's announced that Last of Us Part 2, June 19th, so 3 weeks or so pushed back. So the pre-orders being cancelled seemed a little bit weird, because if you're only moving it back 3 weeks...
It was just a logistical thing, wasn't it? They sort of said, we're in the real latter half of the game, just polishing up, but we just don't think we're going to be able to get the staff to sort of production, get it made up and shipped out, and then if they go, we've actually got that done. I wonder if the leak forced the hand. They thought, it's just because imagine that festering for another 6 months. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
people might be like, but. That's coming its way, June 19th, 2020, which is good news because it's sooner than I had anticipated for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking a launch type. If it had they said it, that was what I was thinking. Depending on how this COVID goes, this lockdown seems to be easing.
Cool.
Double whammy.
You all right?
It seems to be easing up slightly, but...
Yeah, we'll see, won't we?
Second weight inbound, and then it...
Yeah, what have they got in store? Imagine that. What they got in store with us Thursday for the UK, and we also got Ghost of Tsushima getting a release date, July 17th, 2020. So in 4 weeks, we've got a good set of games coming. We've got Last of Us Part 2, then a month later, Ghost of Tsushima, which both you and Biff are looking forward to after your exploits in Sekiro.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to that. Seems too soon because we haven't seen anything really. We've had a couple of trailers and a trailer with a little bit of gameplay, but we don't know how the game works. We don't know what the game is really. Yeah, it's been very vague. So for them to go, it's out in 2 months, it's like cool. But definitely take that again.
Thumbs up. So that could be. The annoying thing is, what's going to happen is lockdown in the UK will be officially released and relieved on June 18th.
Yeah.
And everyone will be like, right, party time, get out there and enjoy it. And I'll be like, wow, Last of Us, then Ghost of Tsushima ain't going anywhere.
Big uns. Oh.
So, could have done with that now, both of those.
Yeah, would have been ideal.
Unfortunate it wasn't. Days Gone.
Days Gone.
Did you get this at release?
I did. I don't know if Biff did, or did he?
I think he...
Might have went a bit low. I can tell from his trophies, actually.
Yeah, I think he did, or it's close to it, because he had time to give it to me at some point to borrow. I believe it, because he was sort of bigging it up, saying, it looks really good, I'm really thinking it's going to be a good game, and once again, Biff's radar was completely off point. makes you wonder how he won that Grand Prix, the FGL Grand Prix. But even flukes can happen. But you've had it since release.
I got it on release. Yeah, it was quite an expensive one as well. I think it was knocking £50 when it came out. You couldn't get it cheaper. It was one of those ones I was so hyped for it when it was announced at E3, and to be honest, I always felt it was just going to be, like when what Kojima did with Phantom Pain, and it was like the original thing, and it was like supposed to be some what was it? Was it like a new
Ground Zeroes?
No, it was the trailer for. It might have been before Ground Zeroes, actually. Yeah, it was like he made it out to be like a new IP from a new.
Oh yeah.
Something like WoW. I can't remember what.
Moby Dick Studios.
That was it. Yeah. Well, from that first trailer, I was like, this is definitely going to be connected to The Last of Us.
Okay,
this is going to be a character or something. You're going to play through this game, and at the end, Joel or someone's going to turn up, and it's going to be like fucking hell. And I think they've missed the boat. That would have been so fucking epic. But I do still think they could do that. That it probably never happened, but I think that would be so good. That because it's based in America. They're not zombies. They're completely different. But I thought, how fucking cool would that be that they had this complete different game in one side of America, and then on the other side of it they had that, and then years down the line they connected the two, and you found out that it was all one big world. That would be so impressive. But yeah, I always, from the first time I saw it, I thought this is definitely going to be The Last of Us. But no, it wasn't. So, but yeah, it reeked of The Last of Us 2. So I was so hyped for it. Then they released stuff. I remember they released like a video, it was about over an hour.
Game Informer, like a beta.
That was right. Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Or alpha, it might have even been. I can't remember. Whatever excuse they had ready, it was one of those two, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like, it's only beta or alpha footage, and it's like,
Biff did get it on release.
Did he?
Yeah, so me and Biff got it on release, yeah.
And he done it a full year before you.
Yeah. Again, we'll come on to that. But yeah, so, yeah, I was so hyped for it.
I was just thinking, if you played this an hour a week, it'd probably take you a whole year to do this game.
It would. It bloody would, wouldn't it? Where was it? Yeah, so I thought it was Last of Us 2. And then, that in Game Informer, they did that big preview, didn't they? And the sort of more you showed it, I started to have doubts about it. Yeah. You were quite downtrodden on it, weren't you? You sort of became sceptical.
I love pissing on someone's bonfire, especially if it's Biff's.
Did you have it pre-ordered at any point? Or
you know what? I think I did, and then I bailed out.
Yeah. Well, I think towards the towards the last month, I think I was sort of debating it, thinking I can see this. It was always one that you thought could blow, had the potential. And I remember people saying it was going to be so hard. Remember that? I wonder if I think they did in the end have to tweak with the difficulty because of the hordes and that.
People running scared over it.
Yeah. And then it did come out, and I enjoyed it I think I stuck about 13 hours in, if I remember. And I did enjoy it, but it became sort of boring quite quick, and I weren't that invested. I think I went, because in my head I was sitting there thinking this is going to be connected to The Last of Us. Yes. Expecting Naughty Dog levels of polish and Naughty Dog levels of storytelling and that. I sort of, I'd done my standard of playing it for a couple of weeks, and then something must have come along, and I sort of thought, I think I might have still been playing Red Dead or something. My attention got stolen away. And then we sort of, when Biff sort of unbelievably ended up blitzing it and completing it, and some of his fun, and then hearing his final review after I've only played 10 hours, and he'd given it a 4 out of 10.
He did.
So
that dampened it.
That dampened it, and then almost a year to the day. It was literally 11 months went, and I didn't even pick it up. It didn't even cross my mind to be honest. To be honest, I think I may have even put it in my selling list. I was even tempted to stick it on Facebook or recently, and I remember thinking, well, I have no intention of getting this done. I didn't overly enjoy what I played. It was fine, but not what I was expecting. So
You'll have Gunner up your arse soon.
exactly.
I mean, what I was gonna, because Biff done our original review back in the day on the old feed.
Yeah.
And he gave it a 4 out of 10, which I thought was, well, my opinion was it is more of a 6.5. Biff gave it a 4 in the end.
Yeah.
And then this is just a little quote from Gunner, who decided to give us a comment in the YouTube section of our video. 4 out of 10 was your final score. It's got an 8.1 user score on Metacritic. Already there, you would have a hint that you've chosen a reviewer that should mop the floors instead of playing games.
One of the best for the jugular.
That was fucking, in my eyes, he's a legend just for saying Biff should be mopping the floors. That's fucking incredible. Thank you. So that made my day when I read that. I obviously gave it all a 6.5 section. Which one of us is correct, or are neither of us correct? Is it higher ranked than what we've put it, or is there even a correct answer to this?
It's difficult. I wouldn't agree with Biff. I think that is very, very harsh.
Out of order, innit?
It's difficult to judge because Biff played it so quick. Let me have a look and see when he actually completed it. I think the way I played it was the best way of playing it, to be honest. Yeah. As much as it shouldn't be the case, my 11-month gap meant that some of the problems that Biff had were eradicated.
Yes.
So therefore, it probably hindered it. I wouldn't say it's too much. I still do agree with some of the points that he said in his review. But let's have a look. So he bought it on release, 26th of April, and he finished it.
Look at this.
So a full month, 20 to the day as well. So it took him a month to complete it, the 26th of May.
There you go, 1 month.
For 1 month he played it and 1 month he completed it. Boom. So it took me almost 12 months, about a week away from 12 months it took me.
I wonder how long it took me.
Yeah, I can find out actually.
You can find out. This is bleeding edge content.
It is, isn't it?
And gentlemen, we're getting live trophy updates from Adkins. I don't know how he gets it all.
Magic.
I'm a bit worried how much fucking personal data of mine he's got stored somewhere, but he keeps carrying it on.
Name.
I reckon I've done it quicker than him.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Let's have a look. Yeah, you did seem to go through. So you started it on the 3rd of August.
I saw that sitting on my fucking shelf for ages after you sent it to me.
Hell, and you completed it on the 11th of August.
Well, there you go. That's what can happen.
There you go.
So if you want to blast through a game, I'm your man.
So there you go. Just a day over a week. 8 days it took you to complete Days Gone. And that is impressive.
Thank you.
So yes, so what was we talking about before? Yeah, Biff review. I would edge more to yours, but having played it and having problems with it, it is certainly not a perfect game. It is by any margin. They have improved it. It's been patched to shit. I think how many patches they've had.
You must have had about fucking 50 gig of patches
it really
when you turned it on after 11 months.
It really was. It kept getting, because I've just left it installed, because I always thought, maybe I'll go back and lose it.
Yeah.
And since then I finished what was it? Finished us Animal Crossing and Doom.
Yep.
And for some reason, I don't even know, it was before I even started watching Sons of Anarchy. This is what made me watch Sons of Anarchy, actually.
Right.
Playing the motorbike game. I just had a sudden urge. I sort of think I was sort of looking at all the PlayStation exclusives and thinking, they're so good, those games. And I thought, I've got one here that I've not finished. And it's like part of their lineup. So I really should. And I don't know, I just got the urge to play it, and then all of a sudden I started playing, and it just grabbed me. And I think I've played that for I can't remember how long. I can't remember how far I was. Actually, we can do that on the fly. I can tell you exactly. So I remember I like I said, I stuck about 13 hours in.
Yep.
Right, how do I do this? Hold on. Yeah, and I played it to completion, but it's one of these games that I remember at the end of it. I remember texting you guys like halfway towards the latter half of the game, just text you saying, "For fuck's sake, this is taking so long. When is this going to end?"
Yeah,
right.
Days Forever, it should have been called in some ways, but then I did it in a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I don't think I could have done Odyssey in a week.
no.
I couldn't, even if I tried. I don't think I could have done that game in the same time frame. So it just, because it wasn't blocking me Days Gone.
Yeah.
At least it felt like it wasn't blocking me at certain points. I did eventually just went, right, let's fucking sort this mess out.
Yeah.
And I was able to do it, which I kind of appreciated.
That's it. So I started it back again on the 14th of April, and
Cool, my birthday.
on your birthday, and finished it on the 18th. So
4 days?
Yeah, 4 days of it.
Christ.
That is disgusting, isn't it?
That is.
So
That is.
that was.
And you called me disgusting for doing it in a week.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was that short, but I did kick the shit out of it. There was lots, and Sam was like, "I need help with the kids," and I was like, "I've got odds up my arse, love. These kids they can defend for themselves. I'm sorry."
It's what I find most interesting about this game is it seems, and Gunner's comments elude this because he was a big fan of the game.
Yeah.
It seems to have critically a lukewarm reception.
Yeah.
But then there's like a cult following. Even so much that a couple of weeks ago we had Days Gone Week.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing. This is sort of like, what is it, 71 it's got on Open Critic, so that's kind of like bit below what you'd expect to be a great or a good game. And you've got, the summary is strong, exciting moments, repetitive missions, bland world, and narrative. While there are some great moments in Days Gone, its best ideas are never at the forefront. Though some critics genuinely enjoy the title, others criticise its dull narrative and uninteresting world. So it's not even close to something like Horizon Zero Dawn, which we've seen the new IP come from PlayStation and Sony this generation. But when you look online, it seems not hugely popular, but a lot more popular than I had expected based on these reviews. Yeah,
I've got to say, I'd probably put it around a sort of 7. I'd say like your 6.5. That's perfectly fine, I think. But it seemed to, I don't know, like I seemed to enjoy it a bit more after I'd finished it. I sort of let it breathe and sat there and thought about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's one of those games, like when you watch a film sometimes and you don't realise until some films you watch and then the next day you sort of think, well, I can't remember watching that. But other things, they stick with you and you sort of sit there thinking about it for the next day or two.
Yeah, I had that with, when you watch something and you forget it immediately. I had that with Green Book.
Oh, really? That was just gone.
No.
Absolute brilliant. That was like this. This is a week of it. Sobbing into a pillar, thinking, Viggo Mortensen. But no, I just had the Days Gone in the back of my head. I was listening to the soundtrack, crying into a pillar,
thinking about Deacon and his little drifter box.
Yeah, but there was something there, and I sort of, the more I thought, I did enjoy that game as much as I did. I thought it was way too long. It definitely is long. It's too repetitive in its missions. I think, like we discussed, you've already gone over this in your reviews, but the missions where you went out with a partner and you bonded with them, they were some of the best missions. And Schizo, yes. As soon as you get back to that mission, you're like, oh, that was good. And then, can you go to the other side of the map and collect a fucking... Oh no, an egg or something. Yeah, okay, go get a fucking poisonous flower. Done.
Yeah.
I'm like, bloody hell. It was so much of that, just pointless, needless expansion.
And that was blended into like the main campaign as well, if I remember. Like, it wasn't like strictly just for side quests.
No.
There was the main quests that went from really like good, engaging, like good character development to just like, drive to the north of the map and get this and then get back. And it was like... It felt like if you removed all those parts of it and kept the core, it's actually
if it was a 20-hour game, I think that a much nicer, the tighter package, it would have been so good. Like I say,
a nice tight package.
A nice tight package, nice solid cock. If it, like I said, if it was about 20 hours long, and they just condensed it and made it a more tighter game, I think it would have been reviewed a lot better than what it was. I think because people were sort of just fed up with it, like myself included. I was just so sick of doing the same sort of thing. But at the core story, I thought, it's not as good as, and the characters weren't as interesting as, Last of Us. But there was definitely something there that I think they've set a foundation that I think they could improve. I do really hope it gets a second chance.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I agree on the length side of things. Like, can you imagine that your job is to review video games? That's sort of like what your trade is, and they go, right, Timmy, here's Days Gone. You've got 5 days to finish this, and it's 50 odd hours. You'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake. You have to really steamroll through it, so that won't help. And I agree. I'd like to see what he could do next with it.
Well, like you said earlier about Final Fantasy, at the end of the day, I wouldn't refuse to play a 50-hour game as long as those 50 hours are interesting. If the side quests were worth doing, if you weren't getting level gated. Luckily, you didn't get level gated in this game, but the side quests weren't interesting. So it was just a means to bloat it out.
Yeah, it was silly decisions. So what was the what sort of things did you like? Anything specific about because I really liked. This is a really odd thing to like. I loved the different factions and camps.
Yeah,
all had their own currency, so that I knew if I earned currency, I could actually spend it rather than worrying about I better save that in case there's an upgrade 20 hours down the line that I need from like the end game or whatever. So I liked that each of the camps had their own currency because I knew that they were specialising. Like one was specialising in bikes, one had specialised in weapons. I knew I wasn't going to waste it if I spent money there because it couldn't be used anywhere else.
Yeah.
But that was sort of like my one little odd thing that I always enjoyed about the game.
Yeah, I quite like that. I really liked the Horde system. I thought that was excellent.
Oh, yeah.
That was impressive. Yeah. But I think the story was what I quite enjoyed the story. I was just literally playing it. I didn't do much of the side quests. You know, you could go off and do all the marauder camps and ambush camps,
bounty hunting. Yeah,
that's it. I'd done a few, but I certainly didn't do a lot. I was sort of just steamrolling the story because I did want to find out what has happened. And
well, Biff dropped a major spoiler on the review, which
I couldn't believe how late. When he said that. I was about 13 hours in. I assumed it was in the next hour or two I was going to have.
Nah.
And when I went back to it, and I think I played it for, what did I play, 4 days? I think I must have played about 3 of them, and it still had an app, and I was like, fucking hell, Biff. The way he just dropped that in, I just thought, oh, that's a nothing. But
yeah, throw away. It's about the last third of the game.
Yeah. I was like,
you kind of have an idea of it, but it's still like, you know it's happening, you just want to get to that point.
Yeah. So I had that, but... Yeah, I don't know. I think the music, the setting.
Yeah.
I sort of done the characters sort of resonate. I thought that like the performance of that Deacon St. John.
Yeah.
That Sam, where is it? I think his name is. Played Starkiller in one of the Star Wars Force Awakens games. I thought he was incredible. I really hope he does it again. I hope the story continues with Deacon. Don't know what else can happen now, really, but.
He meets Jack.
That's it. That's it. That would be incredible. I really hope
a crossover.
If he does that, then Nathan comes out. Great. But I think it was just that story because it did resonate with me. And then, like I say, I had the whole motorbike thing in my head. Yeah. I was like, right, I'm going to watch Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, that's a good crossover for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like Days Gone, although I wasn't blown away by it like I was with Horizon, which is like the easiest thing to compare it to because it's a new IP out of the Sony factory. I still think Days Gone is a really solid foundation to build like a really good sequel off of. Obviously, it needs tightening up a little bit, and maybe it was a lot tighter by the time you played it.
Yeah, it certainly was. I didn't have any other problems. Like, I do remember there being bugs when I played them first initial hours. I think I did a couple of crashes. There were some random things happening. I think I fell through the map and stuff. The frame rate weren't great. There were a few hitches when I played recently, but not as much as it was before. No. And it was just I just loved the sort of survival element of it, and the fact that even if you were just doing them shit mundane tasks, your journey weren't always just there and back. You'd always fucking knocked off your bike, some cunt had fucking ambush you, you get fucking wolves chancing after your ass, and it made it quite enjoyable. And there was genuine parts of the game that shit me up. When you're climbing through some of the mines and stuff, and it's just like, cool, I shit me pants in some of that. So like you say, there's the foundations there. I think I just hope that it sold well enough. It certainly seems like it might have.
Yeah.
I just think they need a second crack at it. Take on board what everyone said, that keep it nice and tight the tiger, and just expand on what they've done. But it did feel almost like a sort of amalgamation of all different games. It's sort of Last of Us mixed with a bit of Far Cry in there. You sort of like the ambush camps and the way you could pick enemies off. It was a bit of Creed in there, I suppose. A bit of it was a bit of a mishmash of all different types of games. So be interesting. The difficult thing is everyone was still playing Red Dead Redemption when it came down. I remember I listened to your review after I finished it, and you and Biff kept comparing it to Red Dead Redemption, which doesn't
really.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it was released not long after. It was April?
Was it like 5 months or so after? Was it?
Yeah, I think I've got a feeling Red Dead was about November, I think, and then this came out in the April.
Yeah.
6, but so people were still playing because that was a fucking long game as well.
Yeah, but that didn't help it for sure. That was like you just had one of the best sort of open world games,
and that's
in terms of like just attention to detail, graphics, like building
a
world.
Similar game, a third-person open world action game, and this was its next in line. So. It didn't. It did have the things against it, didn't it? Bless it. And that's why I think there does seem to be this cult of people that love it, because it'd be interesting if they re-reviewed it now, like they're doing with these. If it was a games for service and they re-reviewing No Man's Sky, they're re-reviewing bloody. People didn't like. It'd be interesting if they did like a 2020 review to see what it would get. Now they've added these new. There's like new. Modes, isn't there? You can get like an arcade mode. There's
like the challenge mode
and horde modes.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if it did get better reviews. I still don't think it would be getting 9s and 10s, but
no,
certainly not 4 out of 10s from Big.
No, cruel that was. I've been tempted at least a handful of times to pick it up just to have it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. Like, there's no rational reason why I would want to ever start it again, but I just feel like it'd be nice to have it in the collection. Like, I did like fucking about of those challenge modes afterwards. They were quite fun. Like, 'cause you could like pick certain hordes, I think, and go after them and like experiment and piss around without the pressure of trying to fucking get through the story that was
it's one
you
I
down, but
go back to and platinum, to be fair, because it's a brilliant game that nothing's missable.
Right, so you can go back and do it.
Yeah, and it's not it's just, literally clear down merchant. That's all you've got to do, really. The majority of it you'll do through playing the game. So it's
I said that about Death Stranding, I never did.
Yeah, that was a heck longer. I think this is only sort of another 10, 15 hours on top of what you'd play it.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world, but... Yeah, I've got to say, it definitely resonated with me certainly more than with Biff. And like I say, I do hope it gets another crack.
Yeah, I'd hope they get a sequel, and if they can just, reduce some of the bugs from release onwards and make it a bit less bloated, then it's got a good chance. I still think the world is interesting. There's some interesting characters in there, and the freakers and the hordes. Like, there's some good stuff that can be plucked out of this game and put into a slightly smaller and more focused game and have a real good go at it. But there you go, Days Gone, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Sony Bend Studios. Yeah, so they've done a decent job, and I've been tempted by it. Sometimes.
Yeah, be interested. We're starting to see these PlayStation exclusives go to PC.
True, yeah.
See if this one was, seeing as it wasn't a huge one as the others. You're not going to see the likes of Last of Us or Uncharted go on there, but Horizon's now coming to PC.
Yeah, you'd think this one would be a prime candidate to chuck on PC and get a few more sales, but
like with mods and stuff, cool, they could make it interesting to be. And I thought it was a good looking game. The environments, like when you think about how small the studios are compared to things. That's what I found myself doing after, was watching videos of there's these videos. Anyone that's played the game, watch these. Just type in amazing details of Days Gone in YouTube.
Yeah,
and there's stuff in there that you wouldn't even think to. You probably wouldn't even notice playing the game, but they're in that game, and it's just some of that. And I sort of, when I watched those videos, I just sort of thought, No, that was better than I thought it was. It is a good game. It has been serviced.
Any examples of these little taster for people so they know what they're getting into?
So there's things like Deacon's eyes dilute in different areas.
What, depend on the light?
Depending on the light. If he goes into the dark, his
Christ.
eyes dilute. Well, you're never going to zoom in that close and look at his eyes. So why add that in? They've done like they do the dynamic weather. They've done like a time lapse where how the weather, like how the snow falls and covers onto Deacon. It was just so impressive. It was watching him when he punches people. If you punch something, the blood that splats up his arm and stays on his arm. It's little bits like that. I can't think of what else. The way he held his gun as well, like he sort of doesn't hold it on the trigger when he's relaxed, but as soon as you cock it, he puts it on the trigger ready. It's little tiny things like that, but I'll tell everyone to watch it because it does, and it makes you sort of think about how good looking the game was.
Yeah, and usually with the bloatvilles is that they're normally, in terms of little details, are skipped over just for core like gameplay and whatnot, and then you get the Red Deads, which are like ultra attention to detail. But it's weird that this one has so many like cool little interesting details, but no one really talks about.
That's it. No one. They got overlooked because it was just a monotonous, fucking repetitive bloat, and you're like, sick of this. Get me to the next bit.
Get me to that next bit. Well, we'll move on to the next bit, which is the end of Games on the Grill. So, as per usual, Mr. Adkins, thanks for joining me.
Welcome.
Hopefully we've given people a good idea of Final Fantasy VII Remake, if they're interested in that. And then if you haven't got Days Gone, maybe have a look at it if you're interested. If you like the look of the setting, I'd say, just get it.
Yeah.
If you're interested in zombies,
quite cheap now.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if it comes down onto PlayStation Game Pass.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see... I texted a couple of weeks ago about the new May was going to be...
Dark Souls
remastered, wasn't it? And Dying Light, I think. Well, apparently that was... There's like a petition now for people to change. They're saying that that leak was I don't know why they didn't do it, but there's an actual petition page to stop the current ones and give us the fucking Dark Souls and thing. I don't know what's I know sometimes Japan gets different ones to the...
Yes, they have had different... Yeah, the PlayStation Plus games have been different on regions. We were talking about the regions earlier. What's weird how it always ties back in. It's how clever these podcasts are. They are layered with that level. We're talking about Days Gone detail.
Yeah.
These Idle Game Chat podcasts have them
detail
littered with lore, I'm telling you. It's all there.
It's all there indeed.
If you're listening properly, but yeah, that's a weird one. They changed.
Yeah,
it got leaked. Changed.
But yeah, I could see this becoming. They already chucked Detroit on, which was one of the smaller exclusives.
Oh yeah.
So wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year if you did see this on one of them. But yeah, I'll do advise people to pick it up and give it a go.
Yeah, just don't expect to finish it so quickly.
No, and don't expect to finish it. Don't expect Last of Us a quality of mission, character building and story.
No,
but
I agree.
There's something there for you.
Amen. That's it then. Everyone else who's been listening, as per usual, if you want to find more of this shit, just subscribe to the Idle Game Chat podcast feed. It's on your favourite podcast app, and if it's not, then your app's shit. So change it, because it's there. So if it ain't got this, you're missing out on loads of stuff. But if you've got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, fucking Podcast Addict, that's what I use. It's all there. So Idle Game Chat, search for that and subscribe to it. If you prefer YouTube, then you can go on there, just search for Idle Game Chat and you can find our channel, which is all audio versions of these. We do no video on those channels, so it's just an audio feed of this, but understood that people enjoy watching or just sitting there looking at a blank screen for an hour and a bit, but it's up to you. Your own decisions. But everybody else, thanks so much for your time, and ta-da.
Oh.
This was a Dimp Digital production.